We solve problems through the substance of our ideas. We start new ventures through the substance of our ideas. And we build great companies through the substance of our ideas. But problems don't get solved. Far too many new ventures fail, and we struggle to grow our businesses. So we've got some problems with ideas. My name's Matt Hart, and I'm the founder of Better Ideas Faster, a toolbox of solutions that I'm going to talk you through. Now, every business recognizes the need for ideas. But there's a massive difference between the expectation that ideas will happen and the correct investment for ideas to happen. I've been working around the world for 20 years, working with all kinds of companies and industries, from political parties to charities, consumer good companies to telcos, entertainment, fashion, TV, radio, film, etc. And there's a couple of things that ring absolutely true. One is we are all creative. We can all have the capacity for some kind of creativity to reconnect with it and relearn how to apply it through the broad narrative that is innovation. And number two is if we can all learn to reapply our creativity, we can also all learn to innovate. So if you take one thing from this today, it is this. It's that innovators are made, not born. Everything I've done with those organizations around the world, I learned to do. And if I can learn it, so can you. And so I guess that sort of describes my mission, if you like, that I've been single-handedly, single-mindedly working on for the last, 5, 10 years, to actually codify the behaviors, the skills, the processes of creativity and innovation, and democratize those to the widest audience. And if we had more time, I'd love to talk to you about why, but there are so many problems coming. I'm working with Cisco at the moment in their global Netacad education ecosystem. I'll show you some stories about that. But we're talking about helping develop the next generation of global problem solvers, because there are so many problems now and there are so many problems coming that we actually do need an entire new generation of creative problem solvers to turn those problems into opportunities and to create fantastic new ventures and businesses and go thrive in this 21st century. So, codifying the behavior, skills, and processes of innovation. Let me quickly talk to you about that. I describe innovation as breaking into 3 disciplines. So very quickly, the first is ideas, new product development, new brands, new products, new services, the innovation process, from defining the problem or the opportunity all the way through to launching something fantastic in market that connects with the widest audience. The next is the whole idea of people and creativity, the training, the education, the development of people reconnecting with their creativity and increasing their capacity for it and their confidence to go and do great things with it. And the third is the idea of transformation, business practice, culture, creating a place of work where people and ideas thrive. And so Better Ideas Faster is coalescing those 3 disciplines into a toolbox approach. And this is it. I hope you can see, well, it starts tactically. We're going to come and talk about the brainstorm, right? We have to do that. Apologies. And then it goes through people, and then it goes through markets and insight and into business. And in the spirit of lean and agile and fast, we're going to do a quick run through each of them. So let's start with the brainstorm. The principle of getting better ideas happening faster now is that our best ideas are spontaneous and shared. And so Better Ideas Faster is an app, a product designed to overcome the challenge of capturing our spontaneous creativity when it happens and being able to share and collaborate that with others in real time so that we can, when it comes to a creative meeting, completely redefine and improve the way we're brainstorming. It's 2 things about the brainstorm. I sort of talk about them being as places where good ideas go to die. We all know, we've all been in those meetings about all the behaviors and the business constructs where we try and get in a room and generate the solution. And the other thing about brainstorms is if you really get under the skin of it and deconstruct how they operate, it's a mad, mad proposition that we diarise for a moment of genius in 2 weeks' time, where we will get together at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon and someone will have the eureka moment then. It just doesn't happen that way. Our creativity, we know and have all experienced, doesn't happen like that. It happens much more spontaneously. If we had time and I were to ask all of you where you last had your best idea, you would say things like commuting to work, listening to music, having coffee in a cafe, talking to mates, at a film, walking outside, at the gym. All of these places when we are in some kind of different state and we can connect with our creativity, all of those places aren't at work, right? And so why are we have to completely redefine the way we come together for creative collaboration. And we have to tap into that innate creativity. And that's what Better Ideas Faster, this app, does. The other thing is we have a problem with the communication of ideas, and see if this rings true. So, Luca. So, hat tip to Luca, Diane, and Yune who are building this app. Imagine Luca's at his workstation, right? And he's tapping away on email and he's working and he's doing whatever. And I've got an idea. And I'm full of enthusiasm. I think it's utterly fantastic. And I run to say to him, I tap on the shoulder and go, Luca, I've got an idea. He's in the zone of here. He's in a different state to what I am with my idea. Now what happens is Luca hears that idea and suddenly it becomes subjective. He takes the data of my verbal vomit, right, of me telling him this idea. He takes it in, he brings all of his past experiences to what he's heard, because all I've done is verbalize it. And he'll create his own mental subjective image of what that idea is. And it could be completely different from what I actually wanted to communicate, and it generally is. Because we're in two different states. Our brains are operating in two different ways. And Luca, at the station, who I'm trying to communicate the idea to, can only respond in a binary fashion. He can either like it or he doesn't. Right? He can say yes or no. And 9 times out of 10, because he's in here and he can't hear it, he'll say no. We don't want to do that. We want to completely transform how that works, and Better Ideas Faster does that. Our spontaneous creativity is inspired by what we see, by what we hear, by what we read, the stuff of life all around us that we take in. And the way it works is we see the stuff, we're inspired, and we have an immediate thought. There's 2 parts to an idea. So what the Biff app does brilliantly, if I may say so, is that check this. This is what I saw, this is what I heard, this is what I read, and this is what it made me think. And then if I can save those 2 parts of an idea into a closed, secure, let's say, pipeline, an online pipeline, in which Luca and I happen to be part of, and he gets a notification that I've put this idea in there, he can come into it in real time, and he can come into my world. And he can see what I saw, what I read, what I was inspired by, and what it made me think. And suddenly he's with me. And then we're collaborating. He can respond and build. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. I can't wait to get it in your hands and get some feedback and continue to make it better. So, that's kind of spontaneous ideas. Once we get that going, what happens in a lot of companies is they go, we'd like to do this better. Now we'd like to learn to innovate. Hands up. I am guilty of that old school 20th century approach to training and education of creativity and innovation, where we used to take a team out of the business into some wonderful woody, birdsong, creek environment, teach them the skills of creativity and techniques and innovation and whatnot. Give them a manual, right? They go back after 2 or 3 days, cost a lot of money, we made a lot of money, they had a hell of a time. They go back to the workplace, manual goes in the drawer, that's never seen again. And those skills and techniques that they've invested in, that the business has invested in, end up being misused or misapplied because you expect that somehow now people can just go and innovate in an old school brainstorm. So no, we're not going to do that. Better is that we want to become innovators. We want to be creative. We want to become ideas people. And that's a behavioural challenge. And the thing about behaviours is once you've learnt the behaviours, you can just be that way. so it can become who you are and how you are. So the Better Ideas Faster People program is about learning and doing these 10 behaviours through the lens of behaviour supported by the science, the skills, the techniques, the processes of creativity and innovation. We haven't got time to go through them all. Let me just talk to you about what I believe are the top 2 because they relate to individually our creativity. Number 1 is curiosity. Now we all know that ideas about the connection of unconnected things, the previously unconnected things that we combine to make something new and it becomes a great idea. So it stands to reason that if we can be curious, if we can observe the world, both generally, the cultural wallpaper of what surrounds our ideas and our audiences, and then specifically the things we're working on, and taking that data, we have a larger bank of resources from which new combinations and connections can be made and to come up with new and better ideas. And curiosity is the behavior that does that. It's supported by the science, the brain science, neuroscience of creativity. And once you know that neuroscience, you can go and be curious. And number 2 is empathy. We want our ideas to connect meaningfully with people. We want them to play a role in their lives. Or better, how could they play a meaningful role in their lives? The only way we can do that is if we deeply understand the audiences we're trying to connect with. That means we have to get out of our world and into their world. We have to not see our ideas, our innovations from our point of view. We have to see it from theirs. And the only way we can do that is to empathize with them, is to get out and experience their world from how they see it. And if we can do that, we can learn new things, which gives us the insight, which will inspire better ideas that when we come and launch them, we'll connect with them in more meaningful ways, more beneficial ways. We haven't got time to go through the other 10, but this is a self-study program. You don't need me to be there. This is 20 years of experience around the world, downloaded into these 10 behaviours that, because of the fantastic digital resources we have now, can be delivered through a toolbox of podcast learnings, 1 a week, and then all the resources that you can both learn and then go and do and apply, and apply immediately on a real project that the program will facilitate you through over 10 weeks. Again, can't wait for you to do that or experience that and give us feedback, and we'll make it better. Okay, so we're getting better ideas. Now we're learning to innovate. Now we need to rocket that creativity and innovation. And underpinning all of what is Better Ideas Faster is insight and audience understanding. Deeply, deeply connecting with and understanding those people we want to end up buying our ideas. So I've done a lot of work and become a bit of a specialist in how you start, grow and build a fan base. I work for Sony Music, Spotify, entertainment companies about how you do this. And what you find is the old school way, the 20th century way, that was developed to understand audiences is dead. It's over. It was called demographics. It was the idea that, describing people by their age, their gender, their income, their family status, their location. You would prescribe all of that and you would group people into massive big profile groups and go, that's our audience, that's who we're going to connect with. That world is gone, and it's gone because of these things. These things are like a window on ideas. Right? You turn them on and it's just full of ideas. So your idea can potentially get in front of everyone. And of course the challenge is if you're for everyone, you're for no one. So what new lens have we got to try and understand audiences? Because if your idea's on here, you need to know it. You need to know where they are, because we all vote with our thumbs, right? It's just a thumb scroll away to dismiss your idea and on to the next one. So what we've developed, and what I've been working with for the last 15 years, is this thing called CONE. Let me describe it to you. So CONE is a behavioural lens. It looks at your target audiences first and foremost from behaviour. So it's behaviour science, social science. And the thing about CONE is that it's called that because when you view your target population, your target audience, through this kind of behavioral lens, you get a cone. Why is that? So, on the horizontal spectrum, you can see an engagement spectrum of behaviors. What I call, when you put that lens over your population, you see a propensity to engage with your thing. From hardcore fanatics, people who are hardcore fans of your thing, all the way through to those who are casual and those who are completely indifferent. They're indifferent to your thing. You're never going to get them. And the reason it's a cone is because if you take that behavioral spectrum and overlay the volume of audiences, it gives you that cone. So that all the fanatics, incredibly low audience volume, but incredibly high engagement and therefore high purchase intent. And all the way through to indifference, high audience volume, but low engagement, and therefore low purchase intent. And the thing about social science and behavioral science of understanding people, is that whenever you define, the sort of category you're in, so the lifestyle category, because cone is basically a lifestyle understanding, so sport, politics, fashion, travel, insurance, music, entertainment, all of these industries we work for. The cone works, and let me just talk you through a couple of examples. So this is Cisco. As I said, I've been working with Cisco. They run a thing called Netacad. It's a global education ecosystem, training learners and retraining people in the skills of networking and IT. And so we were looking at what role IT and ITC plays in young people's lives and their aspirations for future careers, future work. And what you find is that those behaviours completely resonate. So for fanatics, it's all about the future IT CTO. They know where they want to go. They're going to go ahead and get that guy. They're going to get the skills to go and do it, and they're going to end up running an IT department of a large organisation. The enthusiasts are interesting because they want to get the skills, but they want to apply them in new ways. They're the coders, they're the hackers, they're the tech entrepreneurs. People who are more enthusiastic about how to apply IT and ITC. The casuals are a bit more social. They want to do it with other people. They're interested in it. They think there's something for them, but they need help to understand why. And then there's the indifferents who are completely unsure. And we're using this framework to, rather than have one message to try and attract everyone, to have a nuance of messages, because now we know their behaviours, we know where they are, where they're getting their information from, and we can be there in meaningful ways. This is Sony Music. It's a bit more of a challenge when you're looking at an entire population. So you're trying to put a behavioural lens about the lifestyle of music and the role of music in people's lives, and then artists within that role of music in people's lives, and then the behaviour set around discovery and enjoyment and consumption and purchase and all of that kind of influencing kind of stuff. And so the behaviours still resonate, but you're looking at underneath each behaviour the sort of micro-segmentation of profiles of how different genres come to life, or how different behaviours group different people. And we use this, have been using this at Sony Music. They now use it in 32 global territories. And because you can see how if we're starting a new artist, you start in fanatics. That's where you seed and start your fan base. And if you're building fans, you then have to somehow get from there into the enthusiasts. And then if you're growing fans, you've got to come out here into casual land and indifferent land, where most people are. That's all I'm going to say about the cone, but straight after this, I'm going to run a cone workshop. So if you're interested in the idea of fan building or understanding audiences from a behaviour point of view, or you want to do what I call fan innovation, come along and we're going to explore it a bit more. Okay, we're getting ideas, we're learning to innovate, we're getting some new insight about our audiences and how we can better connect or innovate ideas that connect with them and their level of engagement with us. Now, how do we lock all that down as capability in a business? So I've become, I guess, a bit of a specialist in this area, mainly because when you take people through this narrative of using ideas as a touchstone for people to unlock and apply their creativity, you can actually, when you get that going as a program of activity and you're running multiple projects, what it does is it starts to infect and impact the way a business operates. And if you're very smart and very clever, you can start to lock that in as new capabilities and start to truly build a place where people and ideas thrive. And what I say about that third discipline of sort of cultural work is that actually that is the place of ultimate advantage, because every idea can be copied once it's in market. So you've got to out-compete there. Your people can be poached, right? But if you've built a unique culture that describes and nurtures who you are and how you want to go about things, that can never be replicated. It's 100% unique to you. And if you know, we all read business books and read the stories, you'll hear every C-suite executive talk about it's their culture that's the most important thing. Because it's the culture that is all about building in the practices of innovating better ideas faster. We don't have time to really get into each of these, but I'll just talk through them quickly. You've got to nurture some stuff, you've got to design some stuff, and you've got to define some stuff. So nurturing, you know, we've all heard it. You need to deeply articulate your purpose, why you're in business beyond making money, your value set, how the values inform behaviors, and then the skills of living those behaviors. Then you've got to design the systems and processes that start to bake that in and make that automatically happen beyond the ambition or the willpower of hoping that it will happen. You then articulate that into a brand construct, and that brand construct is how you'll set up some criteria for your ideas, and then you build a fantastic environment that manifests who you are and how you are. And then you go and define the market you're in. Be the leader of that market, redefine it in a way that you can own it. And then the audiences within that market that you're going to serve. On betterideasfaster.com, there's an A2 poster that is this page and another page that can give you lots of tips about how to actually start that work if you're into it. For an innovator, it's the hardest work you can do, but it's also the most rewarding, because transforming a culture to be a place where people and ideas thrive is a really exciting journey to be part of. Okay, we've got time for one more thing. You know, part of my mission is to democratize all of this and get it into the hands. And I always bang on with my networks about how I want to get it into younger generations. And how could we get this into universities? That's how I've ended up at Cisco. How could we get this into school kids? And so we're going to do some work in the UK. But I was flying over here and I came across this. And it's written by a fascinating guy who's come out of politics and is very much a social servant and is now running a school, a new generation of a school. And he says this: what will be left for humans when the robots arrive? It's obvious. Creative jobs, jobs that need empathy, jobs where you're generating ideas, jobs where you're problem solving. All these are undervalued in schools. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm about. So this is our latest project we're working on. Better Ideas Faster for Kids. So taking all of that creative problem-solving stuff that we do for organisations and finding ways to translate it and turn it into stories that we can get into the youngest of generations. And I've been piloting a lot of this. I've got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. And what you realise is that you can do it, and it's all about nurturing their creativity so that we're educating them into it. But also, you need some tools in your hands. So us as parents with kids who are worried about their futures, yeah, we want to do it. Everyone's motivated to do it. But how do I do it? What can I use? So we're creating a portfolio of resources, of fantastic stories that take all of that great stuff we do, but narrate it in a way that kids can engage with so that we can read it to them. And then we're going to turn those into TV shows so that they can watch it. And then we're going to take all of that stuff and turn it into a whole bunch of resources so they can play with it. So how about this if you're up for it? We're nearly out of time. On betterideasfaster.com, that portfolio, there's a bunch of free resources there. There's an ebook that introduces you to the BIF and the BIF app. You can get the BIF app, the self-study program, you can get that. There's an introduction to it. There's the poster for doing the cultural work. You can have that. You can have that for free. Knock yourselves out. But in return, if it's cool with you, can I send you the link to that Kickstarter when we launch it, and you can get on board and help us do this for the younger generations? Is that a deal? Thank you so much.